Hey guys, Sam from Manfa's Makes. How are you? And happy Saturday. I hope your weekend is going very, very well and you are getting a lot of crafting time in. So, welcome back to all my returners and hi to any newbies. And there are several of you, so welcome in. Thank you for being here. If you are new, on a Saturday and a Sunday, I do a segment where I read you stories from this book here, which is Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. I have a whole playlist of all the stories we have read before, which is quite a few. And I also have The Wizard of Oz that I read in its own separate playlist as well. But mostly this channel is crochet related, yarn related. There's all sorts here at Manfa's Makes. But on a Saturday and a Sunday, I read you these stories because quite a lot of crafters love an audiobook to listen to while they craft. And because I am from the UK and predominantly my audience is from the US, everyone has said to me that they love my accent and that they could listen to me for hours. So hence why I'm doing the stories. Plus, it's a bit more of a relaxed, chill vibe for the weekend. Because there's plenty of madness during the week, trust me. Okay, so I am filming this on Friday and I am due to go out in about 45 minutes and I still haven't eaten my dinner. So I am going to read probably just two stories tonight, guys, because like I said, I have got to go out. I can't be late. I'm going out with the work girls to see another work girl who is in a play. And I really don't want to be late and I do really want to eat before I go. Apologies, I could have done this earlier, but I have been super busy and I just didn't get around to it. But I also don't want to give you no content. So some content is always better than no content because, as you know, I try and give you a video every single day. So this one might be a smidgy bit shorter than usual, but I will try and make up for it in tomorrow's stories. So the book will be down on the table. I am literally going to be looking down at the table reading. There is no need for you to watch the screen necessarily because, like I said, all I'm doing is looking down and reading. I am not showing you anything. So you just craft away and listen to your heart's content and we will get started. So we start on story 125, which is called The Devil and His Grandmother. Oh, actually, I will redo that bit in a second. Just a disclaimer, especially for any newbies. This book was written hundreds of years ago. Times have changed. People's opinions and attitudes towards others have changed as the years have gone by. These can be quite dark sometimes, quite twisted sometimes, and I am not endorsing any opinion, any moral or anything like that. I am literally just reading the words from the page as the author wrote them. So Manfa doesn't endorse it, Manfa doesn't support it, Manfa is literally just reading you stories. Okay, so story 125, The Devil and His Grandmother. There was a great war and the king had many soldiers, but gave them small pay, so small that they could not live upon it. So 3 of them agreed among themselves to desert. One of them said to the others, "If we are caught, we shall be hanged on the gallows. How shall we manage it?" Another said, "Look at that great cornfield. If we were to hide ourselves there, no one could find us. The troops are not allowed to enter it, and tomorrow they are to march away." They crept into the corn, only the troops did not march away, but remained lying all round about it. They stayed in the corn for 2 days and 2 nights, and were so hungry that they all but died. But if they had come out, their death would have been certain. Then said they, "What is the use of our deserting if we have to perish miserably here?" But now a fiery dragon came flying through the air, and it came down to them and asked why they had concealed themselves there. They answered, "We are 3 soldiers who have deserted because the pay was so bad, and now we shall have to die of hunger if we stay here, or to dangle on the gallows if we go out." "If you will serve me for 7 years," said the dragon, "I will convey you through the army so that no one shall seize you." "We have no choice and are compelled to accept," they replied. Then the dragon caught hold of them with his claws and carried them away through the air over the army and put them down again on the earth far from it. But the dragon was no other than the devil. He gave them a small whip and said, "Whip with it and crack it, and then as much gold will spring up round about as you can wish for. Then you can live like great lords, keep horses, and drive your carriages. But when the 7 years have come to an end, you are my property." Then he put before them a book which they were all three forced to sign. "I will, however, then set you a riddle," said he, "and if you can guess that, you shall be free and released from my power." Then the dragon flew away from them, and they went away with their whip, had gold in plenty, ordered themselves rich apparel, and travelled about the world. Wherever they were, they lived in pleasure and magnificence, rode on horseback, drove in carriages, ate and drank, but did nothing wicked. The time slipped quickly away, and when the 7 years were coming to an end, 2 of them were terribly anxious and alarmed, but the third took the affair easily, and said, "Brothers, fear nothing, my head is sharp enough, I shall guess the riddle." They went out into the open country and sat down, and the 2 made sorrowful faces. Then an aged woman came up to them, who inquired why they were so sad. "Alas," said they, "how can that concern you? After all, you cannot help us." "Who knows?" said she. "Confide your trouble to me." So they told her that they had been the devil's servants for nearly 7 years, and that he had provided them with gold as plentifully as if it had been blackberries, but that they had sold themselves to him, and were forfeited to him if at the end of the 7 years they could not guess a riddle. The old woman said, "If you are to be saved, one of you must go into the forest. There he will come to a fallen rock which looks like a little house. He must enter that, and then he will obtain help." The 2 melancholy ones thought to themselves, "That will still not save us," and stayed where they were. But the third, the merry one, got up and walked on in the forest until he found the rock house. In the little house, however, a very aged woman was sitting, who was the devil's grandmother, and asked the soldier where he came from and what he wanted there. He told her everything that had happened, and as he pleased her well, she had pity on him and said she would help him. She lifted up a great stone which lay above a cellar, and said, "Conceal yourself there. You can hear everything that is said here, only sit still and do not stir. When the dragon comes, I will question him about the riddle. He tells everything to me, so listen carefully to his answer." At 12 o'clock at night the dragon came flying there, and asked for his dinner. The grandmother laid the table and served up food and drink, so that he was pleased, and they ate and drank together. In the course of conversation she asked him what kind of a day he had had, and how many souls he had got. "Nothing went very well today," he answered, "but I have laid hold of 3 soldiers. I have them safe." "Indeed, 3 soldiers, that's something to like, but they may escape you yet." The devil said mockingly, "They are mine. I will set them a riddle which they will never in this world be able to guess." "What riddle is that?" she inquired. "I will tell you. In the great North Sea lies a dead dogfish that shall be your roast meat, and the rib of a whale shall be your silver spoon, and a hollow old horse's hoof shall be your wine glass." When the devil had gone to bed, the old grandmother raised up the stone and let out the soldier. "Have you paid particular attention to everything?" "Yes," said he, "I know enough and will contrive to save myself." Then he had to go back another way through the window, secretly and with all speed, to his companions. He told them how the devil had been overreached by the old grandmother, and how he had learned the answer to the riddle from him. Then they were all joyous and of good cheer, and took the whip and whipped so much gold for themselves that it ran all over the ground. When the 7 years had fully gone by, the devil came with the book, showed the signatures, and said, "I will take you with me to hell. There you shall have a meal. If you can guess what kind of roast meat you will have to eat, you shall be free and released from your bargain, and may keep the whip as well." Then the first soldier began and said, "In the great North Sea lies a dead dogfish that no doubt is the roast meat." The devil was angry and began to mutter, and asked the second, "But what will your spoon be?" "The rib of a whale, that is to be our silver spoon." The devil made a wry face, again growled, and said to the third, "And do you also know what your wine glass is to be?" "An old horse's hoof is to be our wine glass." Then the devil flew away with a loud cry, and had no more power over them. But the 3 kept the whip, whipped as much money for themselves with it as they wanted, and lived happily to their end. Okay, and the last story for tonight, as again, apologies, I am due elsewhere, is 126. Ferdinand the Faithful. Once on a time lived a man and a woman who so long as they were rich had no children, but when they were poor they had a little boy. They could, however, find no godfather for him, so the man said he would just go to another place to see if he could get one there. As he went, a poor man met him, who asked him where he was going. He said he was going to see if he could get a godfather, that he was poor, so no one would stand as godfather for him. "Oh," said the poor man, "you are poor, and I am poor. I will be godfather for you, but I am so ill off I can give the child nothing. Go home and tell the nurse that she is to come to the church with the child." When they all got to the church together, the beggar was already there, and he gave the child the name of Ferdinand the Faithful. When he was going out of the church, the beggar said, "Now go home. I can give you nothing, and you likewise ought to give me nothing." But he gave a key to the nurse and told her when she got home she was to give it to the father, who was to take care of it until the child was 14 years old, and then he was to go on the heath where there was a castle which the key would fit, and that all which was inside should belong to him. Now when the child was 7 years old and had grown very big, he once went to play with some other boys, and each of them boasted that he had got more from his godfather than the other. But the child could say nothing and was vexed, and went home and said to his father, "Did I get nothing at all then from my godfather?" "Oh yes," said the father, "you had a key. If there is a castle standing on the heath, just go to it and open it." Then the boy went there, but no castle was to be seen or heard of. After 7 years more, when he was 14 years old, he again went there, and there stood the castle. When he had opened it, there was nothing within but a horse, a white one. Then the boy was so full of joy because he had a horse that he mounted on it and galloped back to his father. "Now I have a white horse, and I will travel," said he. So he set out, and as he was on his way, a pen was lying on the road. At first he thought he would pick it up, but then again he thought to himself, "You should leave it lying there. You will easily find a pen where you are going if you have need of one." As he was thus riding away, a voice called after him, "Ferdinand the Faithful, take it with you." He looked around but saw no one. Then he went back again and picked it up. When he had ridden a little way further, he passed by a lake, and a fish was lying on the bank, gasping and panting for breath. So he said, "Wait, my dear fish, I will help you get into the water." And he took hold of it by the tail and threw it into the lake. Then the fish put its head out of the water and said, "As you have helped me out of the mud, I will give you a flute. When you are in any need, play on it, and then I will help you. And if ever you let anything fall in the water, just play, and I'll reach it out to you." Then he rode away, and there came to him a man who asked him where he was going. "Oh, to the next place." Then he asked what his name was. "Ferdinand the Faithful." "So, then we have almost got the same name. I am called Ferdinand the Unfaithful." And they both set out to the inn in the nearest place. Now it was unfortunate that Ferdinand the Unfaithful knew everything that the other had ever thought, and everything he was about to do. He knew it by means of all kinds of wicked arts. There was, however, in the inn an honest girl who had a bright face and behaved very prettily. She fell in love with Ferdinand the Faithful because he was a handsome man, and she asked him where he was going. "Oh, I am just travelling round about," said he. Then she said he ought to stay there, for the king of that country wanted an attendant or an outrider, and he ought to enter his service. He answered he could not very well go to anyone like that and offer himself. Then said the maiden, "Oh, but I will soon do that for you." And so she went straight to the king and told him that she knew of an excellent servant for him. He was well pleased with that, and had Ferdinand the Faithful brought to him, and wanted to make him his servant. He, however, liked better to be an outrider, for where his horse was, there he also wanted to be, so the king made him an outrider. When Ferdinand the Unfaithful learned that, he said to the girl, "What? Do you help him and not me?" "Oh," said the girl, "I will help you too." She thought, "I must keep friends with that man, for he is not to be trusted." She went to the king and offered him as a servant, and the king was willing. Now, when the king met his lords in the morning, he always lamented and said, "Oh, if I had but my love with me." Ferdinand the Unfaithful was, however, always hostile to Ferdinand the Faithful. So once, when the king was complaining thus, he said, "You have the outrider, send him away to get her, and if he does not do it, his head must be struck off." Then the king sent for Ferdinand the Faithful and told him that there was, in this place or in that place, a girl he loved, and that he was to bring her to him, and if he did not do it, he should die. Ferdinand the Faithful went into the stable to his white horse and complained and lamented, "Oh, what an unhappy man I am." Then someone behind him cried, "Ferdinand the Faithful, why do you weep?" He looked round but saw no one, and went on lamenting, "Oh, my dear little white horse, now must I leave you, now must I die." Then someone cried once more, "Ferdinand the Faithful, why do you weep?" Then, for the first time, he was aware that it was his little white horse who was putting that question. "Do you speak, my little white horse? Can you do that?" And again he said, "I am to go to this place and to that, and am to bring the bride. Can you tell me how I am to set about it?" Then answered the little white horse, "Go to the king, and say if he will give you what you must have, you will get her for him. If he will give you a ship full of meat and a ship full of bread, it will succeed. Great giants dwell on the lake, and if you take no meat with you for them, they will tear you to pieces. And there are the large birds which would peck the eyes out of your head if you had no bread for them." Then the king made all the butchers in the land kill, and all the bakers bake, that the ships might be filled. When they were full, the little white horse said to Ferdinand the Faithful, "Now mount me, and go with me into the ship, and then when the giants come, say, 'Peace, peace, my dear little giants, I have had thought of you, something I have brought for you.' And when the birds come, you shall say again, 'Peace, peace, my dear little birds, I have had thought of you, something I have brought for you.' Then they will do nothing to you, and when you come to the castle, the giants will help you. Then go up to the castle and take a couple of giants with you. There the princess lies sleeping. You must, however, not awaken her, but the giants must lift her up and carry her in her bed to the ship." And now everything took place as the little white horse had said, and Ferdinand the Faithful gave the giants and the birds what he had brought with him for them, and that made the giants willing, and they carried the princess in her bed to the king. And when she came to the king, she said she could not live, she must have her writings, they had been left in her castle. Then, by the instigation of Ferdinand the Unfaithful, Ferdinand the Faithful was called, and the king told him he must fetch the writings from the castle or he should die. Then he went once more into the stable and bemoaned himself and said, "Oh, my dear little white horse, now I am to go away again, how am I to do it?" Then the little white horse said he was just to load the ships full again. So it happened again as it had happened before, and the giants and the birds were satisfied and made gentle by the meat. When they came to the castle, the white horse told Ferdinand the Faithful that he must go in, and that on the table in the princess's bedroom lay the writings. And Ferdinand the Faithful went in and fetched them. When they were on the lake, he let his pen fall into the water, then said to the white horse, "Now I cannot help you at all." But he remembered his flute and began to play on it, and the fish came with the pen in its mouth and gave it to him. So he took the writings to the castle where the wedding was celebrated. The queen, however, did not love the king because he had no nose, but she would have much liked to love Ferdinand the Faithful. Once, therefore, when all the lords of the court were together, the queen said she could do feats of magic, that she could cut off anyone's head and put it on again, and that one of them ought just to try it. But none of them would be the first. So Ferdinand the Faithful, again at the instigation of Ferdinand the Unfaithful, undertook it, and she hewed off his head and put it on again for him, and it healed together directly, so that it looked as if he had a red thread around his throat. Then the king said to her, "My child, where have you learned that?" "Yes," she said, "I understand the art. Shall I just try it on you also?" "Oh, yes," said he. But she cut off his head and did not put it on again, but pretended that she could not get it on, and that it would not keep fixed. Then the king was buried, but she married Ferdinand the Faithful. He, however, always rode on his white horse, and once when he was seated on it, it told him that he was to go on to the heath which he knew, and gallop 3 times round it. And when he had done that, the white horse stood up on its hind legs and was changed into a king's son. So guys, there we have it. Those are our stories for today, and that is that. So I will pick up these stories again tomorrow for you. And yes, I hope you enjoy your Saturday. Like I said, it is Friday night for me, and I am off out to watch a workmate in her play. And on Saturday, the day you are seeing this, we are planning to go and try and start our Christmas shopping. So fingers crossed. I don't think we'll be able to get a lot, but we will try and get what we can. So, you know, wish us well in that endeavour. Anyway, we shall see you tomorrow, but until then, stay safe, be kind, look after one another, get some good quality time in with your loved ones, and get some good quality crafting time in. I will see you in the next one or around the YouTube streets. Bye guys, love ya.